Hey there, this is Vaderfly. I hope you guys are doing well out there. It's been a while, but I am back and we're going to go ahead and talk about a movie that I did not see in theaters because I was scared and kind of was justified for being scared. Blue Beetle. But before we begin there, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I hope you guys are having a good day. I am having a great day. And let's go ahead and get into this. Blue Beetle is a movie that was released in 2023 that felt like it should be released in 2003. That is the best way I can really start this off. There are some positives and there are some negatives to this review. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat my negative feelings on this movie due to the feelings that I feel that this movie was cooking for quite some time, and I think this should have been better. Honestly, DC has been having some issues for the longest time trying to get any of their movies off the ground, and this just feels like another pile on the dung heap that is the DCU universe at this point. I feel that this movie conflicts and doesn't know what it wants to be. While it has positive messages about family, it doesn't know what it means to be a good person. And it just states a character has to be a good person because they're just good. And so I'm just going to first talk about my positives, and which the positives in this movie is, like I said, the family dynamic is probably one of the best parts of this movie. It's probably the thing that actually is the best part of this movie. The family chemistry between Jaime and his family is just so beautiful. It feels like they're family on and off the set, and I think that is just so great to see that. I also like it is because we don't really get a lot of pro-family movies, especially in superhero movies. So to kind of see that in this is kind of pretty interesting, completely honest with you. It felt like it deserved to focus more on that. I really wish they kind of did something else with that family dynamic as well, especially since the family was going through some turmoil and everything else. That's about it. I hate to say that, but that is really all I have to say on the positives. Well, I have one more positive. Of course, you know me, I love to cosplay and I love to suit up. I love the suit, and it's the very practical suit because I am so tired of the CG suits. I'm so tired of the CG suits. The CG suits are getting so old. I'm so over them. So the CG suits, stop it. After watching this, go back to the practical suits. There were times where you can clearly tell that they were using CG in certain action scenes, which of course, but when the suit was on the screen, it felt like it was more there than what we've seen with the Iron Man suits, what we've seen with the Spider-Man suits. So it's kind of like a blessing in disguise to kind of see this practical work going back into it, which I immediately love about this as well. So those are my two big positive moments in this movie. What are my negatives, you're asking? You're saying, Vanderfly, you seem like you just didn't really care for this movie. And honestly, I really didn't. I tried my best. I tried to be more understanding, especially since I went into this movie kind of with low expectations. And while it did meet some expectations and it was a fun superhero movie, don't get me wrong, it really was. There's so much wrong with this movie that I really have a problem with. The first problem I have with this movie is Jaime himself. He is not a character, he's just kind of there. And what I mean by that is that his character is just, I'm the good guy. That's it. There's nothing really else that surely tells us why he's a good guy. Why does he have the rules about not killing? Does that make sense? Not really, especially in the later half of the movie. He's going around murking people left and right. So it's like, I'm confused. You can't tell me you hit a guy through a ceiling and he's gonna be okay. No, the dude's dead. Like, dude is dead. I'm sorry. Another thing was they mentioned him going to school for pre-law, which I thought was really interesting, which is like, okay, so he's going to school for pre-law. what does that mean you're a good person? Because I've known people that have gone to school for pre-law and they are kind of miserable curmudgeons. So I don't see how that's identifies you as a good person. That doesn't identify you as a good person. It just identifies you as a person that wants to make more money, which admittedly the movie does admit that he does want to make money for the family. And to further that point, there's no explanation why he wants to be an attorney or a lawyer or anything. It's just he went to school for pre-law. Why? Was there a reason? Did his family get into some hiccup or some trouble that really set them, with the law? Was there an incident where he had a best friend that we don't know about, and his friend got hurt, or his friend got in trouble with the law, and after that he was like, no, I'm never gonna let that happen. We don't know anything about this character besides he just wants to be a good person. And I know I sound like a broken record here, but you gotta understand where I'm coming from with this. The only time we see him be a good person is when he stops Tet Kord's sister from lecturing the daughter about something, and I was just like, okay, so he's a nice guy. That doesn't mean he entails as a great person. One of the things I think that would have been really interesting was, me and my friend were talking about this, was that if there was a dynamic where the family and him didn't see eye to eye, and he wanted to just make money and not really care about his family, and not understanding what they were sacrificing for him, only for him to realize that after a certain character's death in this movie, which I would have been totally okay with, but they never explore that realm. There's never any conflict like that amongst his family. The only time there was really some conflict was between him and his uncle, which they clear up in like the matter of like minutes, not even that, seconds, they clear it up. Another big thing about his character is that it's just, I don't understand the dynamic of being who he is. From the beginning of the movie, he has his family, he's basically good to go, and he's learning, he's basically the same character. From the beginning of the movie, he is just the same character that he is at the end of the movie. He comes in, he has his family, he still hasn't changed, he's still quirky, he's still awkward, he's still this random guy, but he is not, he has the Blue Beetle, and now he is with a girl, and now I guess his family is now taken care of because the Kord Industries, all the stuff is now given to the Kord Industries' daughter, Tet Kord's daughter, and that's it. Honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you. The character I felt that had more growth and change throughout the movie was the daughter rather than Jaime. I just, you see a dynamic, you see first who she is, and then as the movie progressed, you saw what she was about and what she had dealt with that led her to this point. And it's like, I honestly would like to know more about Kord's daughter than her, but that's kind of one of the biggest problems was the main character. I couldn't get invested in this movie because I was bored in this movie. And when you're bored with your main character, you're bored with everything else. Now, I know not everybody else feels that way, but for me, it's just like the greatest things about hero dynamics is that you learn about what they are and what they can contain to be, like Spider-Man or Batman. When you see Spider-Man in the Raimi movies, you see who he is. You see Batman in the Nolan movies or whatever, you see who they are. So it's like there's kind of no excuse for that. Like I said, I get it. It's supposed to be fun, a fun movie, but at the same time, it's not, because they delve into some really serious topics too. So it was just really, I'm confused. Another issue I have with this movie, and I don't like to get political, I don't like to talk about certain things, but another issue I had with this movie was the grandstanding and gesture that one race is evil and one race is not. And I don't like that, because we all have good and bad apples in all races. And it was very clear to me, and why I'm bringing this up, because this leads to my next part that I think is more of a nitpick, and it's not really a big part, but it's there. The next problem I had with this movie was honestly this character that was the assistant to Ted Kord's sister, which I guess he got misnamed in the beginning of the movie, and then I didn't see it any other time in the movie, but he got misnamed in the beginning of the movie, and then at the end of the movie he gives this grand speech about his actual name, and then helps Jaime out, which, once again, this is a nitpick, but I hate characters like this, is because as much as you're standing up for yourself against the man and everything, you are just as implicit in the bloodshed, and the blood that is on their hands is on your hands as well. So as much as you want to be like, yeah, we're sticking it to you, I'm telling you who my real name is, I don't feel sorry for you, because you have just as much blood. And he does get murked at the very end. I think all in all with this movie this is not probably the greatest start for the DCU. This movie is conflicted by its own ideologies. It doesn't challenge Jaime at all. I get so frustrated with modern day superhero writing, where it seems like it doesn't challenge your characters anymore. We've seen this with plethora of other Disney movies as well. I'm not going to name them. I don't feel like naming them. But we have this issue where it seems like we don't challenge the characters anymore. And henceforth, it doesn't really challenge the audience. And so, me as the audience member, I see this as just like, it's a great family plot. But as for the main character, the character that I'm supposed to be rooting for, I didn't feel anything, even at the very end when he got justice and he got everything said and done. It was like, what exactly am I supposed to feel? Because he is literally the same person from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. It was just kind of like, yeah, you can say that the character had experienced loss, but he still at the end was with his family, even though he had a loss in that family. Like, there's different things. Like, a great example, once again, let's jump back to Spider-Man, when Peter loses Aunt May. When Peter loses Aunt May, it changes him. When they lose Uncle Ben, it changes him. But from the beginning to the end of the movie, Jaime has always been the hero. He was never been selfish. He never tried to do anything. Although really what he's trying to do is just get the Beetle off. But past that, he was saving lives and doing all that stuff. So what exactly do I care about his character and his character growth? I don't know. I could go on for days about that and kind of talk about that for hours, about why I don't like modern superhero writing or modern hero writing in general. But I think the biggest thing for me is that this is not a good sign for the DCU. They're already been struggling. They've been hurting. Me personally, I've never been a fan of the Snyderverse, except for like Wonder Woman. I think this is not a good sign. And hopefully, with James Gunn taking charge and taking the reins, maybe there will be something in the near future where they will be able to process and talk about these dynamics and work and grow characters, and not just have characters be tools just to be a good guy from the beginning to the good guy to the end. Another great example before I close this video is actually, speaking of James Gunn, Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Basically, from the beginning of the movie, he's the selfish guy, and at the end he realizes he has a family. That doesn't happen in this movie. So I don't know. Honestly, I give this movie a D. Will not rewatch this. It was kind of painful. The soundtrack was forgettable. They tried to do all this kind of playing like retro wave, and then also doing like Hispanic fusion funk, and it just didn't work. It was clashing again in this movie, and I love all that kind of stuff, but it just didn't fit this movie. I think if it was a different movie, if it was like, if you did like a cyberpunk movie and try to do that same kind of vibe, I think it would work way better. But this was not my movie. I really hope that the DCU gets on its game, and maybe things will change. So who knows? I hope you guys are all having a great rest of your day. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. I believe in you guys. And we'll talk later.